Carmen Ríos García.
¿Qué relación tienes con el menor lesionado?
Mi hijo.
¿Qué edad tiene?
5 años.
¿Quién le sacó los ojos a tu menor hijo?
Entre mi hermana Lisbeth y yo.
Las autoridades confirmaron que Carmen Ríos le sacó los ojos a su hijo Fernando de 5 años. 7 adultos más participaron en el ritual que supuestamente tenía un motivo. Después de varios días de encierro, la ceremonia llegó a su clímax cuando Carmen, ayudada por su hermana, atacaron al pequeño.
De una manera errónea, los medios de comunicación dijeron que se estaba realizando un ritual satánico. ¿Ok? ¿Sabes? Estaba lo contrario de un ritual satánico. Estas personas eran cristianas, ultra devotas. No sé cómo empieza esta idea de que el apocalipsis está a punto de ocurrir. De hecho, ellos ya tenían la fecha. Ellos pensaban que iba a llegar un terremoto, que ese era el apocalipsis, un terremoto tremendo, y que todos aquellos que no entregaran pues su corazón y sus oraciones a Dios iban a fallecer. Se reúnen y a los niños, a los menores, los tenían encerrados en una habitación y estuvieron así durante una semana. Ya tenían un montón de hambre, estaban ya espantados porque notaban que, ¿qué está pasando? Y esta familia lo único que hacía era rezar. Los vecinos escuchaban que se le pasaban rezando y rezando y rezando y rezando y rezando.
Su madre, María del Carmen García Rojas, convencida de que era voluntad de Dios, lo sujetó con ayuda de su hermana y le arrancó los ojos con una cuchara.
other thing is that we became so wealthy so fast that people became insulated from the costs of their decisions. People could believe utterly insane things, like that reality didn't exist, or that everyone was equal, since they bore no costs for saying crazy stuff. This is a highly dangerous situation, and the general public is far too comfortable to deal with it in a responsible way. The sheer degree of denial I see in the world today is something I could not have predicted in advance, but I don't blame myself, since this is just utter madness. Faced with enormous intractable issues, whether the new technologies we do not yet understand, such as genetic engineering, AI, space, or even older stuff like nuclear weapons or shoving chemicals into everything, we have a public that has zero interest in even thinking about the consequences. Throw on top of this a complete societal and cultural collapse, paralleled either by the earlier fall of civilizations like Rome, Persia, or Greece, or with the horrifying Mouse Utopia experiments, which again, the public ignores all of this. This is just the tip of a spear between the culture or innovation grinding to an utter halt, the rise of external powers like China, an utterly collapsing birth rate, political polarization, the average person sliding into degrading poverty, and the West being controlled by a death cult bent on the destruction of its own civilization. I'm not even giving everything that deserves credit here. Like, credit. The world is going on the most insane financial money printing event ever in human history, or potential climactic issues. As I like to say, this all sounds quite intimidating, because it is. However, life is a shit test, and you have nothing better to do than to deal with it. I know none of you have lives that are more interesting or compelling than fixing this. A lot of you are normies, have financial liabilities or families, but a lot of you don't either. We're going to have to solve this, and if we don't, we will lose absolutely everything. People are too coddled today to realize how bad life can get, and how stopping that requires effort and courage. One of my good friends used to work for an agriculture company in India and Thailand and Indonesia, and he said in those countries, there is levels of poverty which we would only see in post-apocalyptic movies. We are going to fix this so that our children can live in a better country, because that is the only acceptable outcome we should choose to live with. What I did not expect was that the whole world's reaction to this would just be denial. I didn't think lying to yourself for this long was even in the phone book of options. I assumed over time that the nagging worries would become too intrusive, that the streets would get too dirty and people would get too poor, but psych.
No vas a creer que este era yo hace 3 semanas. Hola a todos, soy... sí, eso es lo que quería decir.
Hola a todos, soy Camila y hoy les guiaré en la presentación.
3 semanas de entrenamiento diario con Vocal Image. Haz la prueba de voz y empieza tu transformación.
Welcome to governance by the baby boomers, where issues are not solved, and we all collectively agree to pretend it's still the 20th century, while having none of the positives of that society. You'd think people would realize after a certain point that it's inside their self-interest to defect from the system, but I think a combination of economic misery, being